Davis McCallum. I'm the director of Water by the Spoonful by Kiara Hudis, and it's a beautiful new play. It's the second part of a trilogy of plays that she's written based on the story of her cousin Elliot, her real-life cousin Elliot, who was one of the first Marines to cross into Iraq. This particular play focuses on two protagonists, I'll say. One is Elliot, and he's returned to the barrio in North Philly, and he's struggling, as he was in the first play, to kind of integrate his everyday life in North Philly with his experience as a Marine in Iraq. And then near the beginning of the play, something happens to him that kind of throws him off that track. And the second person that we're tracking is a woman named Odessa, who is the founder and site administrator of a website for recovering crack addicts. She also lives in the barrio in North Philly, and she lives in a really dilapidated apartment in a row house in the barrio, and she very seldom leaves the apartment. But to the other people on the chat room who live all over the world, she's a rock. She is a hero to them. And in large part, the play kind of focuses on that dichotomy, the distinction between the flesh and blood Odessa and her life in the barrio, and her online persona, Haikumo, who's the founder of this website. You're going to meet Yaz, who is Elliot's cousin, and she is a music professor, an assistant professor in the music department at Swarthmore College in Philly. And she and Elliot have this special bond as cousins. And in a lot of ways, they're nothing alike. You know, Elliot never went to college. He's a Marine. He's kind of a tough guy in the neighborhood. And Yaz, you know, is a brainy scholarship case in an all-white prep school who went on to Ivy League school and then is now teaching in the music department at Swarthmore, and kind of comes from a more cerebral place, and Elliot is much more impulsive. But somehow they're kind of an odd couple. They complement each other perfectly. And there's a great scene in a flower shop where they're buying flowers, which just has this kind of easeful, natural banter. It's almost like they're an old married couple in the flower shop. They're as close as brother and sister, even though they're in fact cousins. And then you meet a bunch of people who are in recovery and come to Odessa's website for kind of sanctuary and support and community in the experience of recovering from addiction. Amongst that group is Shoots and Ladders, who works in the IRS office in San Diego, African-American guy in his 50s. And then a woman named Orangutan, who is Japanese-American, who grew up in Maine. I won't tell you any more about her story because I don't want to give away too much, but she's in her 20s. And they have this special kind of banter. They're kind of another unusual couple in the play. And then you meet this guy, Fountainhead, that's his online moniker. And he also lives in Philly, but he is hyper-privileged and lives a kind of bourgeois suburban life outside of Philadelphia, and is deeply conflicted and ashamed. As a kind of cry for help, a masked cry for help comes to the chat room and says he wants the support and kind of advice of the experts on addiction, and that causes a bunch of events that kind of spiral out of control in the play.